house at the end of Elbridge Lane. They told us not to go to the red house. Not because it was haunted. No, they never used that word. They just said it was wrong. The kind of place that made dogs bark at the walls and birds fall silent overhead. The kind of place that had too many shadows for the size of the building. I was 17 when I first walked past it. My friend Maggie dared me. She always had a mouthful of fire and a death wish she disguised as curiosity. We were heading back from a party, a little drunk, more than a little high, and she said, "Bet you won't touch the front door." I didn't want to back down. I laughed too loud and stumbled through the overgrown yard. Every step I took, the night seemed to get quieter. Not like the sound was fading, but like it was hiding. The house wasn't red the way barns are red. It was red like dried blood on cotton, muted, aged, wrong. Its shutters were crooked, like someone had tried to rip them off and given up halfway. There was a mailbox, rusted shut, with no name on it. I touched the door. It felt warm. That's the first time I saw her, just for a second, in the upstairs window. A girl, maybe 12, maybe 14, standing very still. White dress, hair too long for her age, eyes like burned-out coals. I blinked, and she was gone. Most people in town avoided the house by habit. Nobody had lived there for 40 years, but no one tried to tear it down either. The town council once put in a proposal to demolish it, but the paperwork went missing. Then, a council member's daughter vanished. After that, no one tried again. Maggie went back there once, just once. It was 6 weeks after that night. She started acting weird after the party. She stopped answering texts. Her skin looked thinner, like the light was shining through her in the wrong places. I confronted her outside school. "What happened to you?" Her pupils were too big, like she was trapped in the dark. "She's awake now," Maggie whispered. "She likes the ones who knock." 3 days later, she disappeared. They found her backpack in the yard of the red house. Nothing else. 10 years passed. I left town, went to college, moved to Chicago. I didn't come back for much, funerals mostly. I avoided Elbridge Lane. But one winter, after my father died, I came back to help my mother sell the house. It was only supposed to be for a week. The second night I was there, I heard a knock. Not at the door, from inside the wall. 3 slow knocks, like something was testing the plaster with its knuckles. I froze. My mother was asleep upstairs. I stood in the hall with every light on and pressed my ear to the wall. Nothing. The next morning, I drove to the local library. The town hadn't changed. Still too many empty lots. Still that smell of wet leaves and chimney smoke. The librarian was a hunched woman with nicotine yellow teeth. When I asked about the red house, she looked up sharply. "You leave that place alone," she said. "Why? What is it?" She glanced around, as if afraid something might be listening. Then she pulled out an old newspaper from 1963. The headline read, "Family of 4 found dead in mysterious house fire. No signs of flame. Bodies unburned." The article said the family had moved into the red house that autumn. The neighbors heard screaming one night. Firefighters arrived to find the house untouched, but the family inside was dead. Every bone shattered, every organ liquefied, as if something had crushed them without leaving a bruise. The cause of death was never explained. "That house eats people," the librarian said. "Sometimes quick, sometimes slow, but it always eats." I told myself I didn't care, but the third night I heard Maggie's voice, soft, singing. It came from the upstairs hallway, just past my old bedroom. Ring around the rosy pocket full of. I flung the door open. Empty. The air smelled like earth, like the soil had been stirred up inside the walls. I barely slept. I started seeing her again, the girl in white, sometimes in my dreams, sometimes behind reflections. She'd appeared just long enough to make me question my sanity. A blur in the mirror, a breath against the shower curtain, a flicker behind the blinds. She never blinked. I told myself I just needed sleep. But sleep is where she waited. I had a nightmare that lasted hours. In it, I was standing in front of the red house. The door was wide open. Maggie was inside, but she looked wrong. Her jaw moved like it was unhinged. Her voice came out in whispers made of static. "She knows you now," Maggie said. "She wants you." The girl in white stood behind her. She smiled, revealing a mouth full of teeth that were too small. Baby teeth, dozens of them. Then I woke up with dirt under my fingernails. The last night, the lights went out. Just after midnight, I was in the kitchen, trying to sleep with the TV on, when the screen went black. The refrigerator died. The heater groaned and fell silent. The house exhaled. Then came the knocking, not from inside the wall this time, but from the back door. 3 slow knocks. I didn't move. The knock came again, louder, then a voice, high and wrong. "Left me in." My hand reached for the knob. "Let me in." She was behind the door. I could feel her, the girl in white. My fingers brushed the deadbolt, and I heard my father's voice, clear as anything. "Don't." That stopped me cold. My dad had been dead for 4 weeks. "Go upstairs," he said. "Lock the door. Don't listen to her." I turned and ran. I spent the night barricaded in the guest room. I heard scratching, then laughter, childish, hollow, wrong. I shoved the dresser against the door and sat with my back to it until dawn. The next morning, I packed a bag and got out. I didn't wait to finish the paperwork. I told my mom we'd sell the house as is. I drove through town one last time, but before I hit the freeway, I passed Elbridge Lane. I don't know why I turned. Maybe I wanted closure. Maybe I wanted to see if she was real. The red house was still there, still sagging, still red. I got out of the car. The morning was grey, the air sharp. I walked to the edge of the yard and stared up at the second-story window. And she was there. Not just the girl, Maggie too. Both of them, standing behind the glass. Maggie's eyes were black. The girl's mouth was open, too wide, like it had been broken and never healed. They didn't move, didn't blink. Then, behind them, in the dark of the room, something shifted, a shape, too large to be human, covered in hands. I turned and ran. I didn't stop until I was 3 towns away. I've tried to forget. I moved to another state, got a new job. I don't talk about it anymore. I don't write about it. But sometimes, I still hear knocking in the walls. And when I sleep, I dream of red paint peeling in long, skin-like strips, of small, pale hands pushing through cracks in the plaster, of a girl who never stops smiling. Last night, I woke up with a song in my ears, Ring Around the Rosie. This morning, I found a white dress in my closet, still damp, covered in dirt. I haven't touched the door yet, but I think I will. She's patient.